Hello there, so back with the ST today, and if you remember in the last video I powered it up, plugged it in via the RF connection, and it does seem to work, but there's an issue with the mouse that seems to, it's either the mouse itself or the mouse port that seems to be crashing the computer, and there's an issue with the spacebar as well. So I'm going to have a look at the mouse issue today, so I'm going to crack this open. I also want to have a look at the capacitor values as well, because I want to order some new caps for it and make sure there's nothing horrible and leaking inside as well. So yeah, let's have a look at it. Okay, we're in. It's looking like it might have had a bit of damp in there at some point. So let's keep going, see what we find. Yeah, we've got some of these twisty little fasteners that Atari seems so fond of. That'll be the mains power board. Can't see anything leaking, it's just very dirty. This cap looks like it's got quite the bulge in it, but I don't know whether they're just like that, or whether that's in a state of failure, I don't know. I'll probably order it and swap it out anyway. Okay, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to zip around the board and make a note of all the capacitor values and get those ordered. Right, let's have a look at this keyboard then, because it has the faulty key that I want to take a look at, and the joystick / mouse ports are also on the bottom. So let's just see if we've got any bad connections here, and let's just see if we can get to the underside of these keys. So a lot of screws, I think I'll just take those out. All right, that should be free. Yeah. Oh, it's one of these. Okay. So little suction cups. That's how that works. Let's just remove them for now from the board. So let's have a look at this space bar and see what's going on with it. How do these come out? I'm not entirely sure. Oh, that's all it was. You just give it a little bit of a tug, and the plunger is a separate unit. Okay, and do you know what? It's come off its stabilizer bar because there's a piece broken by the looks of it. So is that repairable? Am I going to need a new space bar? Let's have a look. Let's just get this off its stabilizer. Right, yeah, the piece is actually broken off there, and unless that piece happens to be still here, I think I'm going to need a new space bar. So here's the problem with the space bar. It has a metal stabilizer bar underneath it, which runs in 2 grooves, and one of them I've got there, which is complete, and that's what's left of the other one. So I'm going to need to improvise. So I'm going to go away and have a little bit of a think about how I'm going to fix this, because I don't have the broken piece to glue back together. I'll come back to you if and when I can solve the problem. Okay, so here's what I've done. So that there is the original piece with the little plastic slider, and it's not pretty, but that is my repair. So I've just roughly cut some plastic and glued it in there. I'm hoping it'll be up to the job, but the only other option I've got is a replacement spacebar, and I can't seem to find one at the moment, so I'm making do. It should work, we'll see. And while the keyboard's in a state of disassembly, I might as well strip it right down and then I can clean the parts. You know, it's not that bad. I mean, it needs a clean, but it's not that bad. May have been well looked after, this computer, I don't know. Yeah, I'll give everything a wash and let it dry. I'll probably leave it for a couple of days, make sure everything's nice and dry, and I can be carrying on with other things in the meantime. So back with the keyboard PCB, and these connectors here and these connectors here are for the joystick / mouse ports. Now you're probably not going to see it on the camera because I don't have a macro lens. Let me just try and zoom in a bit, see what we can do. But trust me, I've looked at it under magnification and there are dry joints that have cracked. So that would explain why we're getting our problems when we plug the mouse in. There are definitely issues there. So if I reflow the solder, hopefully that will solve our mouse crashing the computer issue. Right, let's reflow all these connections. Let's get rid of the old solder first. Right, it's about a week later and I've finally got some time to work on this again. So this has all been washed, keys have all been washed, and I've reinstalled the space bar with its little stabilizer bar, and it seems to be working fine now. So I'm thinking that little repair I did is holding. I can pick it up at either end and it seems to run smoothly, so it's not twisting at all. Still got the crack, but I've glued it so it's not going to get any worse. If I find another space bar for sale, I'll swap it out, but I think this has been saved. I think it'll do. So the return key, that has room for a stabilizer bar, and I've got that. But over on the numerical pad, the 0 key has room for a stabilizer bar and I don't have it. And the same with the enter key as well. I don't think they're missing. I just don't think they were ever installed from the factory. I could be wrong. It could be somebody's been picking bits off this, but I really don't think so. I don't know. The provision's there to fit one, but I don't think they were ever installed. So, yeah. Now, with these little springy cups, these are what make the connection on the circuit board when the key is pressed, and they also push the key up and down. When I strip this keyboard down, and I took all of these out, I flipped it over and I reinstalled all the little cups to make sure I hadn't lost any, and I found I was one down, which is not like me because I tend not to lose things. I mean, I work on watches which some of the parts are the size of a few grains of sand, and I don't lose those parts. So I thought it was odd that I'd lost one of these, but no, I seem to be one down. And I had the room upside down looking for it. I was shaking my clothes to see if it had fallen in there. Nope, couldn't find it. So I ended up buying some. And then, after reviewing the old footage, I found, if you look at the enter key, it has 2 plungers, but it only needs 1 of these. So just to illustrate on the board, this is where the enter key would be. And there are 2 contacts, and if you follow the traces, they do go to the same place, but it's only the bottom one that had one of these things. So that's why I was one down. I hadn't lost one at all. I just hadn't taken into account that the enter key has these 2 pads. Reviewing the old footage, it would seem I only need the bottom one. That's where it came from, so that's how I'm going to put it back. Anyway, I'm going to get this keyboard back together. I'm probably not going to film it because it's just working around the camera. It's just an absolute pain in the neck when you're doing something like that. Right, so keyboard's back together. I've got everything very loosely connected up, so we'll see if it still works. We'll see if that mouse is working now. Who knows? I have got an RGB cable now, that's turned up. I ordered that the other day, it came very quickly. So I'm using that rather than the RF. Let's see what we get. Aha! Now, yes! Look at that. We have a working mouse. Oh! Wonderful. Okay, I'm happy with that. Spacebar seems fine now. And now what I want to do is I want to have a look at the main board, clean it up a bit, change the capacitors, clean the case, recap the power board and put it all back together. Maybe have a look at that disk drive as well, and we'll just see if we can get it to load some software as well. So yeah, let's get started. So I think the first thing I'm going to need to do is get the board out of this bottom shield. And I can't see any screws, so I'm going to assume it just pops out. Aha! There we go. There are capacitors everywhere, but I think I've got everything I need. So let me dig out my desoldering station and we'll get started. Right, so we are recapped. I've reseated all the chips in the sockets with the exception of this one and this one, purely because I don't have the correct tool and I don't want to go pulling chips out without the correct tool in case I do some damage. So I'll order one, and if I have trouble in the future I'll come back to it. I've used capacitors that I already had in my stash, apart from the odd couple that I had to order. So they're all in. This one here, I didn't have an axial cap where I needed one, so I've just made a radial fit, and there's some heat shrink underneath just to stop it from shorting out on anything. And this one here, done the same thing again. That is a bipolar capacitor, and they're a little bit harder to come by, but I had some where I had radials, so I just made one of those fit. Okay, onto the power board. So I want to change all the capacitors in this as well, but I'm going to have to be a little bit careful because it hasn't long been powered up and there are some big caps in there, particularly this one, which has mains voltage on it and has a big red warning sticker on it. So I've got this, which is just a resistor and a bit of heat shrink, and I'm going to use it just to bleed off any residual power that might have built up in that. But I need to get to the underside of it first. So how do I get into this? There's 4 screws. Alright, look at this. 2,200 microfarads. That's at 10 volts, that's at 16 volts. And look at the size difference. That's how technology's come on, I suppose. Okay, the RF shielding, I mean, I'm assuming that's what it is. Just a bit grotty. It's inside the case, you're not going to see it, but, you know, let's at least get the dirt off it, shall we? Let's try, I don't know if that's corrosion or whatever, but let's just try something like a baby wipe for now. And oh yeah, it's cleaning up. Do you know what? Good enough. If I was really going to go for it, I'd get some zinc paint maybe and blow it all in with that, but let's be sensible. I think it's clean and I think I've managed to knock off all the corrosion, so that's good enough. Okay, I've left the disk drive out for now because I want to have a look at that separately. But let's just make sure everything still works. See what we get. Hopefully it's all fine, but we'll see. I'm assuming it'll boot without the hard drive. Yeah, without the floppy drive. It does. And the mouse is working. Of course, we've got no drives listed because nothing's plugged in. But yeah, I think we're good. So we're having disk drive problems. So I've cleaned the heads, I put it in. I tried to run a disk and it's making a horrible screechy noise. And when I've taken the disk out, it's carved a nice groove into it. Now, these are like really cheap pile of discs that I bought, mostly PC format cover discs and things, just for testing, so I've not ruined any good software on it, but yeah, that disk drive isn't happy. I've had a look at it, I've had the board off. I've tried to look at the heads. They're very difficult to get to, but I'm having no joy. I can't see anything particularly obvious there, but I think the drive's just dead, to be honest. But I mean, oh, this is something called Word Plus. I don't know. I'll show you what's happening. I mean, let me reset it and you'll be able to hear it. And that sounds horrible. Yeah. We're getting nowhere. But hey, let me just eject that. And you might not see it on the camera, I don't know, but it will have. Yeah, it's carved a little bit of a groove into the top. It's just about to see it when you catch it in the light. So I need a replacement disk drive or maybe some sort of floppy emulator. I haven't decided yet. So until I can get hold of something like that, I can't really go any further. So I'm going to call it here for this video. But hey, do you know what? We've made progress. I mean, this space bar seems absolutely fine now. I can push it right at the edges and it's nice and steady. So that stabilizer bar is definitely working. Whole board's been recapped, power supply's been recapped. It seems to be working nicely. The mouse is working properly now. So progress. Yeah. Once I can get hold of a disk drive, this will be done. I was really hoping this would be the end of it, but never mind. What can you do? Yeah, anyway. Thank you very much, as always, for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.